Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and today, as you can see, I have a new setup behind me. I've taken a couple of days to actually try and fix it. We'll be talking about World of Warcraft, and I'll be talking about something that has kind of been spurred on by the recent, or actually not so recent, amount of comments, and there's been people coming onto the stream, and there's been a lot of negativity being thrown out towards BfA, towards World of Warcraft, and there has been a lot of comments, and there's been a lot of people on stream coming in and saying, oh my god, you're still playing this game is so bad, why are you still doing this game is dying, and all of that. There's been a lot of comments like that, and I just wanted to make an honest video for myself, and this video is not going to try to sugarcoat a lot of the things about the game. Not because I play it and a lot of my all of my stream and all my videos are based on this game. So I'm going to try and be as constructive, as provide constructive criticism in terms of the things that so this is a personal opinion piece, that I find good, that I find pretty poor, or how they could be addressed or maybe fixed in the future patches and things like that. And we'll be looking at patches like 8.1. So first of all, if I were to summarize BfA for someone who's about to play, in my personal opinion, there are two reasons. There are two reasons why I play World of Warcraft, and that has never shifted ever since, well, it kind of shifted from the start of Legion, but the main reasons for as a PvE player is raids, and from Legion, and since then, Legion has introduced Mythic Plus, and Mythic Plus has become a big part of my World of Warcraft day-to-day life. Where, let's say, there is no raid on Wednesday, there is no raid on Thursday, I'll be doing Mythic Plus, I'll be trying to, get better gear and things like that, and all of a sudden, since Legion, when Mythic Plus was released, there's been like a huge separation. All of a sudden, the people who didn't enjoy raiding, didn't have the time to raid, they could actually play Mythic Plus, and not everyone enjoys Mythic Plus, but in my opinion, it's one of the greatest things that happened to World of Warcraft, because all of a sudden, outside of raiding, which back in the day, I only used to log in for those raid days, log into the raid, do the raid, get the loot, and go about my real life. And now I kind of have more to do. Let's say there's no raid day, I'll be doing Mythic Plus. So for me, Mythic Plus is an extremely important aspect of why I play World of Warcraft. And again, it was introduced in Legion, and again, it's still here in BfA. And for me, those two reasons are the biggest reasons, and they're still great. So I find that BfA is still interesting for me because I do Mythic Plus, I do raids. Now, a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people, but there has been a different shift in the structure of Mythic Plus from Legion to BfA. Legion was a lot more about one-shot mechanics. BfA is a lot more about the group capabilities of how to coordinate or trying to finish that Mythic Plus in time. There's going to be very few abilities that will one-shot you, maybe at some extremely high keys, and some abilities that are a bit too stupid. But some people will say like, hey, let's go back to the Legion Mythic Plus, where you have to time your personal cooldowns more, rather than try and coordinate the group, try to coordinate the DPS and everything. For me personally, I enjoy the BfA Mythic Plus. I don't mind the complexity that it requires. I do feel that there is somewhat of a difficulty when doing that plus 10 for some pugs who they might not know every ability, they might not know how to deal with every boss mechanics, and they'll struggle more so than they were struggling in Legion. I felt in Legion to get that weekly cap was a lot easier than it is in BfA. For me, I don't mind that, but I can see why a lot of more casual players would be upset about with the rated.io score thing as well. But that's all part of more of the community than the game itself. The game has kind of propelled this because Mythic Plus feels harder, and they have simplified Mythic Plus a lot with the recent changes, the undocumented changes in 8.1, which nerfed a lot of the Mythic Plus bosses, and I felt those are really good balance changes made to the game. But a lot of people felt a little bit late, but I feel Mythic Plus is getting better and better. Now, the more problematic aspect of BfA, in my opinion, is the filler content, and I feel the filler content, there's plenty of it. There's plenty of content that's gonna fill up your day. We have war funds, you have island expeditions, and I'll be honest with you, I wish they were I almost wish they weren't in the game. Now, there is a part of me that says, hey, it's free, like, I mean, it's just there, you don't have to do it. But at the same time, if you want to grind AP, you have to do Island Expeditions, because Island Expeditions are the best source of AP. In Legion, Mythic Plus was one of the best sources of AP, and people used to grind, you know, more souls 8 hours a day, but that was hotfixed in the next patch or so. It was hotfixed that AP would drop based on how long the dungeon was, so all the people were doing mythics and they were rewarded by getting either AP, loot, or legendary. So you had 3 proper reasons to do Mythic Plus: AP, legendary chance, or the loot itself from it. So that has shifted a lot, in my opinion, in BfA. All of a sudden, if I don't have the same need to do Mythic Plus anymore, like my drive to do Mythic Plus have plummeted to an extent that the only reason I do Mythic Plus right now is rated.io score, which has nothing to do with the game itself. It's a third-party application. It's not monitored by Blizzard. It's not contributed to by Blizzard. There's nothing, like, it's... And that's the reason that's keeping me playing Mythic Plus, because A, I don't need the gear anymore. Titan Forges, I mean, I was never a fan of Titan Forging. I kinda saw the reason for War Forging, but I never saw the reason for Titan Forging. The gear, I don't really need it, so it needs to Titan Forge like 20 plus item levels to get it. The AP is not substantial enough for me to warrant playing Mythic Plus when I need to grind AP neck levels. I should be doing Island Expeditions. And again, there is no legendaries, there is no Azeroth gear you can get from it. So outside of getting that plus 10 in Mythic Plus, the only reason for me to do it is rated.io and get that big dick IO score. That's the only reason. And sometimes I don't see the reason to do it. Sometimes I'm like, I just don't want to do it. That's the honest opinion how I feel about Mythic Plus and BfA right now. I don't feel there's enough incentive, and Blizzard has said this multiple times. We don't want to make AP there. We don't want to Mythic Plus drop Azeroth pieces. It's gonna make it too popular. People are just gonna do Mythic Plus. So what? It is the, in my opinion, and I feel a lot of people are gonna share this, as a PvE player, it's one of the two things that keep me playing the game: Mythic Plus and raids. You're making me do this Island Expeditions, grinding this AP. I feel Island Expeditions can have their purpose. Let them sit there. You paid developers to write this code, to implement this in the game. You already spent money on it. And I mean, you can just have it drop pets, mounts. You can have it drop AP. Doesn't matter. And some people are going to enjoy it and have a great time doing Island Expeditions. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fact is, when you're starting to push, the only one way for me to get that AP, like really good amount of AP to get my neck for the next raid, is to do Island Expeditions, and I can't do the content that I kind of really want to do. It's baffling in my opinion. I really felt, and I can see why they introduced this. I can see it from the business perspective. You have to remember, this is a new expansion. BfA is a new expansion. We need people to be willing to pay $30 towards this new expansion, because it's going to be so new. It's going to bring new things, new class abilities, new everything. We need those changes, so it does feel like a new expansion. Who would, like, imagine if Legion kept releasing raids and Mythic Plus? It just would kept going. The class balance was the same. Let's say legendaries were fixed at the very end in the way that you can acquire legendaries. Let's say they just kept going with the raids and Mythic Plus and releasing it over and over, new content, new thing. I don't think many people would have really complained about that, because Legion at the end of the day is really good expansion. There were problems. Now, I am kind of sugarcoating it in a way that Legion was the best thing ever. Legion had a lot of problems. First of all, it was the most Alton-friendly expansion I think there ever was. You were fixed about playing a certain, not class, a certain spec, because of legendaries, because of AP was tied to the spec itself. So there were massive problems with Legion, but at the same time, even though legendary acquisition was really annoying, that possibility of a legendary kind of kept me going doing that Mythic Plus, kept me going doing those raids, kept me going doing this older content where I'm like, there's a chance, man, there's a chance I can get that biz legendary. And it felt like more rewarding, even though I still feel there were a lot of problems with it. So in BfA, you now, like, because Blizzard wants you to sell this expansion, €30 expansion or whatever, I said this multiple times, there needs to be new stuff. So, okay, we're the best at making Mythic Plus and raid content. We're the best MMO game that's ever done this. We've been popular for so many years. Let's focus on something else and give them something new, which is Iron Expeditions, Warfronts. Again, Warfronts dropping 385 loot with zero effort. Like, I mean, I might as well get 385 loot from a mailbox. I see no reason for Warfronts to be in the game right now, except to just give out free loot so people have to log in for that half an hour. Like, it's baffling to me that that gives you the highest base loot. But besides that, Blizzard, I can see what they were doing. Blizzard was like, we gotta make this expansion feel like there's something new. We're gonna give you these Iron Expeditions, we're gonna give you these Warfronts, we're gonna hype it up, and we're gonna release BfA. And BfA was so unfinished at the start, it was insane. So many classes were just broken, unplayable, unfun. Global cooldown changes were just nonsense. I feel whoever came up with the idea of like, yo, let's add global cooldowns and make all these specs slower. Let's make them slower. This is going to make the game better in the long run. It's almost like, if it's fun, take it away. It feels like Blizzard is kind of making these weird decisions out of nowhere, where they're so far away from what the whole community wants or they feel they need, and Blizzard does the opposite. Now, it's a lot of these little kind of decisions, so it hasn't, like, don't get me wrong, this game is still one of the best MMO games out there. It's still an amazing game. I still have really a lot of fun playing this. I'm saying this out of love in a lot of ways, because I don't want this game to be viewed as a dying game, as a game that's going to go downhill, because all of a sudden there's so many companies out there releasing games that are just unfinished. So many games that have been hyped up as the best games ever. And I'm not talking about Blizzard, I'm talking about the whole gaming community, or the publisher community, or game developer community that's pushing out this content that's unfinished, that shouldn't be out. They're hyping it up as the best content ever, and then they're dealing with the fires from people. Hey, Azeroth system is garbage, it should have been fixed ages ago. It's nonsense. Hey, this class overhaul is not overhaul at all. It makes the class feel more sluggish. It makes the play less fun. I've been playing Legion. Holy Paladin Legion was great. What's happening to Holy Paladin in BfA? Who is in charge of a Holy Paladin design and brings the legendary helm as a talent instead of so many other legendary abilities? Like, it's insane when you think about this, all of these small decisions that make no sense whatsoever, and they've been kind of building up in BfA, building up and building up and building up. And people are not stupid. They can see these crazy decisions going against the actual community. Now, I don't want to be the person who's like super negative, because there's already been too much negativity of BfA. BfA does a lot of things well, like I mentioned. Mythic Plus, I still enjoy Mythic Plus greatly. I feel the Mythic Plus dungeons are really fun. I feel a lot of the classes who did not receive a lot of love in Legion are receiving more love. Like Demonology Warlock is one of those classes. I feel the raids, Uldir was a success. In my opinion, every raid that Blizzard is releasing is always good. Blizzard, whoever, or the team that develops raids, who organizes the abilities, who comes up with the abilities, I feel they do a really good job. And I'm looking at the new raid battle for the Zala lore, and it looks fantastic. It looks great. I can't wait to do it. The hype is there, but everything outside of those things, and I'm even talking about the Azeroth system. At the start of BfA, Azeroth system was just terrible. There was just so many things wrong. With 8.1, there was a new vendor introduced, and I feel the vendor is okay. I don't feel it's mind-blowing every time I don't feel like I have to log in every day, try to get that Titan Residuum. Like, it's not the best thing I've ever seen. It's not super engaging, but I feel it's better what the previous system was, and it gives me hope. It gives me hope that BfA release was, in my opinion, was really bad. There was a lot of problems. 8.1 was the release in my eyes. If Blizzard only released BfA in the state that it was with patch 8.1, people would not be this upset, because 8.1 fixed a lot of things, but it was far too late. If you look at the patch release dates, the release cycle, you'll notice that 8.1 in terms of the 7.1 that was released in Legion, the difference, or the time release dates, they're far off. Legion was a lot faster, BfA is a lot slower. Now that might be to do with, the holiday season and things like that, but I feel there is a lot of hope. I feel there is a lot of hope with the new raid. I feel there's a lot of hope with the new patches coming in. Blizzard has mentioned in 8.2 they're trying to remove the grinding system, the AP, or at least to unlock the trades. You don't need to grind anymore. I mean, there is going to be a grinding component. There has to be a grinding component to World of Warcraft because that's how MMO games work. But maybe it's not going to be that beneficial or that crucial to have it. So overall, this is my honest opinion. I feel BfA has a lot of flaws, and what worries me more about the flaws is the decisions that Blizzard is making, and they feel to be so far away from what the community wants, which to some extent is scary. It's scary when a company that I love so much, the game that I love so much, is stepping away from the community and doing things that just makes no sense in any shape or form. And believe me, I do account for the fact that a new expansion has to experiment. It has to try come up with new things. If Legion didn't experiment with the challenge modes, which aka happen to be Mythic Plus, there would be no this awesome new PvE content. And I know not everyone likes Mythic Plus, but it's still, in my opinion, it's one of the biggest components why I play World of Warcraft. So I do understand that they have to experiment. I do understand that there's going to be failures, but you have to realize when too much is too much. Some of the content is just not gonna make it. Like, I mean, Mythic Plus and raids are gonna carry the game in terms of PvE. I mean, the PvP scene, I'm actually not sure how the PvP scene is like, but I feel a lot of people are enjoying it to some extent. There's a lot, I've seen a lot of people playing it as well. But focus on what you do best, Blizzard. Focus on the aspects that people, the reasons that people play your games for, and build on top of those. Build on top of those. You know you got something good with Mythic Plus. You know you got something good with raids. Add to them. Build something new for them. Focus on the things that you do really well.